The church is needed now more than ever. We believe that there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress in people's lives, and I feel that that our rights are being infringed upon because that's what we provide for our community.
All of that 100% true, but really there is a battle brewing, and it's happening in our country, especially on Sundays. Sunday services being held by some pastors, despite the stay-at-home social distancing orders that we have in many of the states, counties, and jurisdictions around our country. So the question is this overstepping? Is this crushing constitutional rights of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of speech? What is going on? Ted Rollins takes a closer look tonight.
Welcome to Palm Sunday Mass.
It's a delight today to have some very special guests, and we are practicing social distancing even while we're worshiping.
The start of Holy Week saw many religious leaders moving their services online to curb the spread of the coronavirus. But there are some straying from the flock.
To anyone that would ask me, why are you still having church? My question is to you, why are you not having church?
Pastor Mark Anthony Spell is head of Life Tabernacle Church in Louisiana, where gatherings of more than 10 people are banned under an order from the governor. But Spell remains defiant even after the town's police chief personally issued him a summons for violating the governor's order 6 times for holding large services. The pastor pledged to keep the doors open at the risk of his health and his congregants.
We prefer to hazard our lives. Neither the pressure of our friends, our family, the threat of lawsuit, nor imprisonment, nor death will stop us from our God-given command to assemble.
Spell is part of a small but growing number of faith leaders challenging stay-at-home orders that don't make exceptions for houses of worship. Their defiance flies in the face of public health advisories. It also goes against what many religious leaders are recommending to their followers. David K. Bernard is the general superintendent of the United Pentecostal Church International. Large gatherings are not biblically required to worship God, he said, and he cautioned against claiming religious persecution in a public health crisis. We are right to be concerned about religious liberty, he said in a statement, but we must choose our battles wisely. But Pastor Juan Bustamante says his church is more essential now than ever.
People are afraid, people are scared, and so where else can they find hope? I mean, I believe that we're just such an essential part of our communities, our cities, our states, and our nation, that to shut the church down is to really, the community is going to suffer if we do that.
Bustamante is the pastor at City on a Hill Church in Houston. He's one of 3 pastors in Harris County challenging Judge Lena Hidalgo's order, which says worship services may only be held remotely.
We should not be going out, certainly should not be congregating in groups.
The pastors claim the order violates their constitutional right to practice religion and assemble peacefully. They filed an emergency petition asking the Texas Supreme Court to intervene.
When you have an order that tramples on fundamental rights, that order has to be based on what we call a compelling governmental interest. And it has to be very narrowly tailored. So that's a balancing test that courts have to employ. When you look at Judge Hidalgo's order, she picks and chooses winners and losers. Now, we obviously know that church and folks who go to those churches are identified as losers in her orders.
In response to the petition, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued guidance saying houses of worship are indeed essential services, but whenever possible, they must conduct services through audio or video. In Bustamante's case, his decision to hold an outdoor service in violation of the stay-at-home order earned him a warning. He says police are targeting the wrong groups.
Our concern is for the virus. If we're really trying to cut down the virus, then why aren't we out there in the stores enforcing it like we're enforcing it with the church?
What a battle. I mean, and yeah, there are constitutional rights that this country was founded upon, but now you've got this competing interest for the public health and safety. Let's bring back in Ted Rollins and Seema Iyer. Ted, is there any reason why they're not satisfied doing it all, by video. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone can do it on Facebook, YouTube. You can do it any which way.
Right. There's many ways to do it. It's not like the old days where you needed a television crew to come in and do it with a huge expense. The bottom line here is I don't believe they believe that the virus is that big a deal. And that's why they're getting people to come as well to their church. I guarantee you, if these churches were in Manhattan, there would be no services. And as this moves across the country, you're going to see a different mentality from both pastor and congregants when it becomes real. The problem is they are, by holding these gatherings, they're making the problem worse for their communities potentially.
You know, Seema, I understand any time that constitutional rights are, trampled upon, some would say, halted, suspended, it's an issue. It's a real issue.
It is.
And you don't know whether it's right until it's been challenged.
Absolutely. And in the written challenge by Pastor Bustamante, he even acknowledges that regulation vital to the protection of public health and safety, including the regulation of violent crime, requirements of national security and military, may be compelling governmental interest. This is a matter of national security. This is what we are under a national disaster. I want to say a global disaster, right? Also, that's part of the law is saying if you're going to take away a First Amendment right, a constitutional right, okay, you better have an alternative, okay? And this is what we call the strict scrutiny test. You have to have a reasonable alternative. Well, we do have that alternative. We could go online and pray. We could go online and participate in a service. So this is completely a meritless claim. And in fact, I also just want to point out, I for one, last night, actually, I was looking online for services, for religious services, because I think all of us are really struggling to make sense of what's happening in this world. And so to speak about this, I do take very seriously my right for religious freedom. But safety, health always goes above all the other rights, period.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is debating whether it's essential and more, and this is what they're saying, more now than ever for many people who are going through this and are having difficulty with it. They want the church, whatever religion they have, they want to be able to come together. It's just the manner that they come together. I think that the bottom line here is states are going to win this battle between church and state.
And can I just point something else out?
Let's take a listen.
Okay.
I just wanted to take a listen to Jared Woodfill really quickly. He represents a whole bunch of Texas pastors.
Right now we have a little over 2,000, about 3,000 cases of folks with the coronavirus. As a result of those 3,000 or so cases, our county judges decided to shut down all places of faith and worship. She's decided to shut down small businesses. She's decided to shut down gun shops, while at the same time leaving open bicycle repair shops, liquor stores, and a whole host of other businesses that she has chosen to be the winners under her order. So I don't believe that you can take the First Amendment and the Second Amendment that lightly. I believe that if you are going to find there's a compelling governmental interest, that remedy that governmental official is passing must be very narrowly tailored. And clearly, the remedy that she has put in place is not narrowly tailored enough to satisfy the compelling governmental interest, assuming that it even exists.
Seema, isn't this probably the strongest argument he can make if they're shutting down certain businesses like places of worship, but not other businesses, and picking and choosing who stays open and who has to close?
This is a case-by-case analysis. So just he mentioned bike shop, okay? The bicycle may be a mode of transportation for people there. Another thing is when you go to a bike shop, you can go one at a time. Ask the other customers, wait outside, stay 6 feet apart. You can't be 6 feet apart in a service. And clearly in the video that we've seen, people were not standing 6 feet apart. And the liquor store, well, Ted and I will tell you that's an essential service.
We'll leave it there. Ted and Seema, thank you so much.